Hey, check it. Hey, check it. Put the place up.
All right. Welcome in, boys. Week 10 is in the books. And with that comes Cameron's first win in a month. Congratulations, Cameron. Unfortunately, it's all for naught. Max had his best week of the season with 175 points. Max is currently in 11th place. So Cameron obviously hoped that he would claw back out of the race for the Sacco, but his Keenan Alley 40-point burger was all for naught. Cameron is still in the lead for the Sacco. Cameron, you really need a win, and you really need Max to lose this week. But let's review the Commish's predictions for last week. Unfortunately, my record drops to 7-3 on the year. Chad had a good week. I did pick him to win. He outscored Yahoo's projections by 14 points. Unfortunately, for my predictions, Cameron outscored the Yahoo projections by 40 and won 168-44. I did say it'd be closer than Yahoo's projections, and I didn't think Cameron was totally out of it. However, I did miss a lot here. So, before I go over that, let's go over a couple things that I might have gotten right on Chad's side. Golf had a predictably good week. I thought he would. He scored dang near 30, 27, I think. And I said the over-under for Stroud every week from here on out was 25. He scored 24.6. Pretty dang close. Horseshoes and hand grenades. I got the horseshoe on that one. Now, a strong quarterback showing for Chad did not overcome Cameron's week. He had some very, very good point totals. Now, I said Kittle would be staying in and blocking because they needed to establish the run against the Jags. I thought the Jags would score some points, and they would need to do that. Kittle had 20 points, caught a ton of passes, had a great week. The Jags looked terrible, frankly. Sorry, Jag fans, but it was a rough game. And then I certainly did not put Dobbs as having 30 points. So I missed those completely. So Cameron definitely had a big week on things I would not have called. I was also down on Cameron's running backs, but higher on Chad's, not because of the players, but mostly because of the matchups, and that just didn't matter. Cameron's running backs are better, they had a better week, and it showed. So those are a couple hits and misses. Another hit, I said that Schultz should show up. I said that he would be kind of the man here. At tight end, he was okay, not great. So yeah, not a great week for the commish. But how's a shooter get out of a slump, boys? He just keeps on shooting. So on to week 11. Your commish is going to shoot his shot and call this the next game. This week we are going to feature our champ Frank Hoopastank versus Andre's Bobbleman. Andre has suddenly gone from one of the lowest scoring teams in the league, which he still is, but he has moved to 500, which is roughly where 8 of the teams are in the league. So he's right in the thick of it, needs a win to stay in the race, really needs a win because he cannot rely on his point totals to get him a tie breaker to get into the finals, to the playoffs. So he really does need to get a win and needs to pile up a couple wins, while Frank is 8-2, our champion. He has been a great team all year. He's going to move. I think he's going to be the second highest scoring team in the league. I was second. He is going to pass me, I think, after the totals come in. So he has got his eye on a bye week. If he wins this week, it virtually guarantees a bye week for him. So a big week for both these teams. Now, let's go on to the previews. We have got the quarterbacks. Andre has Lamar versus Cincy and Kyler versus Houston. Frank has Sam Howell versus Dallas. And let's see, he has got Geno versus the Niners. Now, Lamar has been better in real life than in fantasy. He might be arguably an MVP candidate. He won't win it. He won't be on that list because he's just not putting up the stats. But he's playing pretty well. However, Cleveland really slowed him down this week. He not only had his worst game in real life, he definitely had his worst game in fantasy. He totaled 11 points. It's pretty bad. Can he bounce back? I think so. I picked actually Baltimore to win this game. It's on Thursday night, so a short week. I think their defense is very good. They allow, I think, the third or fourth lowest point total on the season. So I think they'll be able to slow down Burrow, just kind of keep him in check. The over-under is 46, so nothing crazy. I mean, I don't imagine that Lamar scores under 20. I expect him to score 25, so solid output from Lamar. Then we move on to Kyler. Kyler came back. He looks like he's the Diet Coke version of Lamar. He's not the fully leaded gas. He's the unleaded, right? Like, look, he's kind of Lamar light. So I think that in his comeback, he looked good. He looked like his old dynamic self. He scrambled for a touchdown. He looks fine. I don't imagine he doesn't score 20 points. So Andre's got a couple good quarterbacks and is trending up right now at this position. Now, I've also professed my love all month, multiple times, for Stroud. I've said every week for at least 4 weeks on this podcast that I think he's pretty good, and I think the Texans are going to score against the Cards. So the Texans can put up some points, and Kyler's got to come back. I really think Dre's in a good spot here. So with a healthy Connor, I think this game goes over. I think there's a lot more points scored here than Vegas thinks, and it's on a high over-under. So I really think Dre can get at least 50 points out of his quarterbacks. That is a big advantage. So moving on to Frank here. Frank has the red-hot Howell, Howell might score dang near 50 points on his own because that's what he does. And he's going against the floundering Giants. So riding that high of Howell, what will he do? I mean, that ride is like Space Mountain. It's just up and down. You never really know what you're going to get with Howell. He has a negative point total on the season. So the problem is, or not the problem, but the good thing, I guess, for Frank is that he's been very good in some weeks, like 40-point weeks. But I don't expect that this week. I actually expect Brian Robinson to get going this week. So I don't think Howell has a blow-up week. No, I don't think he has a terrible week. Look, the Giants are terrible. They're just in dismay. I think every team that plays against them is just start all. But I just don't see him having some, 300-yard, 3-touchdown game. I just don't think they're going to need it to win. So I think that's going to really limit Howell's upside. So 15-ish to 20 points, 20, 22 max. Just kind of an average kind of week for him. Now, Geno, on the other hand, last year's darling, this year is not. He has scored 21 points. More than 21 points only twice this season. He has been the definition of average. So, is it going to be a shootout playing LA? I don't see that, and I don't see Geno doing anything that he hasn't done all year, just whatever his average is, which is 15 to 18 points, maybe 20. So, yeah, I think Dre wins this group pretty comfortably. This is going to be, I think, where Dre can win the week. I think the quarterbacks are a big deal for him. Moving on, running back. We have got Dre with Brees versus Buffalo and Gibbs versus Chicago. Frank gets Rashad White versus the Niners, and Jaylen Warren versus Cleveland. Well, hello, Mr. Gibbs. I called Montgomery as one of my sleepers of the year. Looked good. He gets hurt. Gibbs gets the work, shows he can do it. Monty comes back, and it looks like the two of them are just going to alternate series. Even on the series that Gibbs was in and they got to the goal line, I assumed Monty would be in the game. They just give to Gibbs, so they're just alternating, which is good in real life, but obviously limits Monty and helps Gibbs for fantasy. So assuming that continues against a pathetic Bears defense, I think Gibbs is in for a good game this week. I don't know how he doesn't get 15 points. I just think they're set up here for success. Breece Hall is also back and fully healthy. He is averaging 20-plus touches a week for the last month. I expect that he will get a touchdown against Buffalo. Buffalo is a average defense that is kind of overrated, particularly the past month or so. So I'd be surprised if Trey doesn't get at least 30 points out of this duo. I think he's got a very good weekend stored. Frank, however, has been riding the wave of his just atrocious running back position. I mean, he is getting points out of them. White looks like he is the walk of shame version of Theo Riddick. I mean, he's like I said earlier, the Diet Coke or the Bud Light version of Theo Riddick. He's terrible. I mean, he had 20 carries a couple weeks ago for 51 yards. I mean, he's just not good at running the ball. However, he catches the ball a lot. And he is good for a solid 5 catches every week, and 7 or 8 is not out of the question. So if this team's going to be down, which they should versus the Niners, he should score 15 points just mostly based on his workload. So while he may be bad, fantasy doesn't care. He gets some points. He gets catches, and that's what matters here. That's his value in the passing game. So I actually think he's a solid start this week. But gosh, I don't like it. Going on to Jaylen Warren, he is straight up splitting time now with Najee. Najee had his best game, actually kind of 2 weeks in a row. But this week they get Cleveland, and I don't care if you're getting 40 carries versus Cleveland. Their defense is great every week. I mean, they look incredible. So good luck, Warren. I don't think you do anything this week at all. So this is a big advantage, in my opinion, for Andre. So, again, quarterbacks and running backs in Andre's advantage. So, moving on to wide receiver, Andre has Zay Flowers. He's going against Cincinnati. Amon-Ra versus Chicago. And our beloved Christian Kirk versus Tennessee. Frank gets Chase, Diggs, and Devonta against Baltimore, the Jets, and Kansas City. Look, Dre brings some underrated receivers to this party. Zay is clearly the best receiver in Baltimore, sans Mark Andrews. I think they slow down Cincy. Baltimore's defense is playing very well. They allow, the third least points in the league. But if this game gets a little loose, Zay should benefit. He is clearly their main pass catcher. I don't care what Odell keeps doing. It's 2 lucky weeks. I don't care. He's going to need 4 or 5 in a row before I believe in him again. So Zay is getting a lot of targets. I think he'll be good. 10, 12 points, I think, is expected. He gets 6 to 10 targets every week. He gets a touchdown, and it really helps. And that might happen against Cincinnati, but I think they control the ball through the ground. So I'm not expecting a lot from Zay, but it's not impossible. Amon-Ra is just proving that last year was clearly not a fluke. This guy is just very, very, very good. I loved him last week. Dan Campbell tries to talk about biting ankles and being tough, But his offense runs through Amon-Ra. Don't you be fooled by all this running. Amon-Ra had 19 targets a couple weeks ago. 19 versus Baltimore, one of the best defenses in the league. That is crazy. He has not had under 7 targets every week. This offense is running through Amon-Ra. If they couldn't pass the ball, they would not be able to run the ball. So Amon-Ra is fantastic. I think his over-under every week is 20 points. And he could easily score a touchdown against Chicago. I would put the odds at better than 50-50. So I think he has a great week here. Now moving on to our local beloved receiver, Christian Kirk. Kirk has been just a total steal this year. We talked a lot about Ridley based on that one video that got us all hyped up for Ridley. But outside of 2 weeks of the season, week 1 and week 8, Kirk has had 13 to 20 points every single week. He just continues to put up work, both in real life and in fantasy. So, Jag fans, like it or not, your number one receiver is not Calvin Ridley. Kirk gets the work. He is simply proving to be better. As a side note, as a Jag fan, they are not running deep balls at all to Ridley. I mean, the fact that Trevor Lawrence just can't get a multiple touchdown game is just silly. I don't know what they're doing. They really need to pass the ball deep to Ridley. They're just not even attempting it. Do you know who has the lowest 20-yard touchdown, or I'm sorry, 20-yard attempt? It's Trevor Lawrence. He has fewer 20-yard passes than anyone in the league. They're not even attempting a 20-yard pass. That is Ridley's area. They got to get him going. All right. Sorry to be off on a tangent there. All right. So, with Kirk going against Tennessee, who is a kind of one of those pass funnel defenses that really want to let you pass the short passes and let you get a couple catches in order to stop the run. They do that and they do it well, but that means that typically one of the receivers does pretty well, and I'm going to guess that's Kirk this week. So Andre's got a lot of good matchups and a lot of underrated receivers. But on the other side, Frank has all the glitz and glamour, man. This guy just spent all of his draft capital on receivers, spending it early, spending it late. I mean, he just said, I hate every position but receivers. You know what? I'm going to take a tight end. So he really should have an advantage every week at this position. Except I don't know that he does. All 3 of his receivers go against top 7, or I should say bottom 7, but the 7 toughest pass defenses in the league, and 2 of the games that they are playing in have over-unders at 40 points. That's bad. That's really low. Like, his receivers are not slated to score a lot of points. Now, could Chase go off and get like 4 touchdowns? I mean, sure, that's why Frank spent the capital on him. It's entirely possible against any matchup. But I wouldn't bet on that happening this week, playing those tough defenses. So I'd kind of like to call this a draw. I think I like Andre's receivers better, but, you know, the random chance has Frank winning this group. But like I said, I like the floor of Andre's team a lot better. I think it's a lot higher than Frank's. You know, we'll see. Like I said, the ceiling's a lot higher for Frank. So if Frank wins this week, it's with this group, which is true every week for Frank. So, yeah, this position group is definitely one to watch. All right, tight end and flex. Andre, his tight end is going on bye. He's going to need to pick up a streamer. His flex is Jaden Reed from Green Bay. Frank has the double tight end set every week. Frank has made it a staple. He has drafted Mark Andrews early, got a good second tight end in Laporta, who seems to be getting a lot of passes and touchdowns for that matter. So not a lot of analysis needed here. Frank just completely owns this category. I mean, Mark Andrews versus a streamer, sure. Mark Andrews wins by a landslide. And Laporta versus Jayden Reed. Yeah, Jayden Reed had a fantastic week last week, and maybe he does it again. But I don't know. Laporta's just been more consistent. He's playing in Chicago. I'm gonna take Laporta. So this group is just a massive advantage for Frank. So who wins? Frank is rolling. He's on a 3-game win streak. Yahoo picked him to win. I've previewed 2 of his games. I have picked him twice. He is 2-0. But I'm going with the upset. That is right. I think my first, but one of my true, just flat out upset picks. I am taking Andre. I think Andre steals this one from the champ. Personally, look, I don't want to pick this. I need Steve. I need Frank. I need you guys to win. I need you to beat Andre. I need you to beat these 5-5 teams because I'm 5-5 and I'm trying to get into the playoffs. But I think Dre's got a shot to just straight up steal this. I really like his matchups. I like his floor. Frank might have a higher ceiling, but I like Dre's floor here, and I really like his quarterbacks. I think if Dre wins just in the playoffs and throughout the season, his quarterbacks really could come on. And this might be one of those turning weeks. So I'm going Andre. This is what I'm going. I'm putting it on the line here. I'm taking a true upset. I think he wins. He beats the champ. That's right, Frank. Dre is coming for you. That's it, boys. That's my call for the week. I hope to see y'all here Sunday. Let's watch some Jags beat the Titans. Excited for that. Gonna smoke some smoked pork or something. But hopefully all of you can make it out. So, all right.